So today I want to show you guys in this lesson how to do some of the designs that you see on this page. For example, I want to show you guys how to make images really move around and how to change the shapes. I want to show you how to make a background to an image on top of images, how to underline, how to blend things in so that your poster can really pop off the page. So to do that, we're going to start by talking about how to change the background. Now, a lot of kids think that if you change the background, you just insert an image, right? You go search the web and that's how you find it. But that's actually not true. That creates an image that moves around. You don't want an image in your background moving around. So one of the things that you could do is you could change the background to an image. Up here across my toolbar, I have something called background. If you click on that, just click choose image. From there, you could begin to search. For example, I want to search for Mars. Now, when I look at Mars, I want to find a picture that just doesn't show Mars. I want a picture that's going to have some blank space too. What's really important about choosing the background is choosing a background that words are going to show up well on. And so if you choose a background, for example, this one, words are going to have a hard time showing up here because the colors are very light, but also in other places they're really dark. You want a picture that often has like lots of blank and black open space. For example, this one. You see, this one here is going to give me plenty of space that when I go to insert text on my poster, I can use white text out here on the outside while Mars is still the focus of my poster, which is really what you want. You don't want 12 pictures of Mars. You want one big focus picture of your planet or moon and then allow the text around it to describe it. So that's the first thing, changing the background, using the background on the top and clicking choose an image. The second thing I want to show you is how to make your text boxes really pop off the page. Do you know you can make your text box have a shadow? Let me show you how. One way you could do that is if you click on your text box after you've drawn your shape and typed in it, you can go over here to these three dots. And on these three dots, you'll find something called Format Options. Now from there, you'll see something called a drop shadow. When you click on this, at first, for you guys, I know it's working on mine, so it's going to look a little different. For you guys, when you first click on it, you're not going to see a shadow. You're going to have to play with these levels. I want to talk to you about the first level, which is distance. When you look at distance, when you do this, your shadow is going to start to appear. The further you pull distance out, the further the shadow goes away from your box. Now, you might not like the color of your shadow. Well, you could change the color of your shadow to yellow or any other color. I prefer black just because I think a shadow is darker in color. You can also change where your shadow is. If you don't like your shadow down below or on the side, if you click angle, you can begin to change the angle of your shadow. So for example, I might want my shadow up here in this corner. Now another thing you could do is you can make your shadow lighter or darker by using the transparency tool. If you use transparency, it allows it to lighten up a little bit, to get a little darker if you want it, whatever one of those works. And the last thing that you could do is you could do the blur radius. Now the blur radius is cool. This allows you to blend into the background. For example, when I look at mine, if you look up here, Jupiter kind of blends into the background. I was able to do that by using a blur radius. By using the blur radius, it allows your shadow to blur out a little bit and fade in. That's why I recommend using a background with a black area because it makes blending in your text boxes really easy. So that's two things I've shown you, changing the background and messing with text boxes. Now there's another thing you could do to your text box that I could show you, but it's not as useful. You can give it a reflection. If you click on reflection, you're able to actually go in and create a reflection of your text box. Now I'm trying to figure out why mine is not showing me my reflection tools. Oh, there they go. Maybe. Okay, there we go. I had to press the down button. But my reflection tools, what it does is allows me to change the distance of the reflection. It allows me to change the size of the reflection, how dark it is. That word transparency means how clear it's going to be. And so that could also be something you want to do. Now, I don't personally like reflections, but if you do, that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. So that's one thing that you could do. But let's say you have this background, this really awesome background, and you got this ugly green text box, and you really want the color to disappear, but you want the words to show up on top of this, kind of like what you see up here. Well, one way you could do that with a color or a shape that you've done is you can make it transparent. Let me show you how to do that. The first thing you do is you click on your text box that you made, and then you click on the word transparent in the bucket. So up here you have something called a fill. When you hear about a fill, it's what's filling in the space. And I'm going to use transparent. Now it disappears. Now I've got to change the color of my text. Your text is still there, even though it doesn't look like it. It's still there. It's just blending in with the background. So one of the things you want to make sure you do is you click on the line of the text box. And then go to the A with a line under it, and you can make your text white. Or you can do yellow, or whatever color is going to show up really well. What's really important is that you're choosing a color of your font that shows up well in your background. That way people can read it. You know, another thing you could do with your text here too is you can underline it, which is what I've done. I just highlight it and then I press the U up here, and that allows it to really bold out and be underlined. So that's the third thing I've shown you. Now I want to show you how to take an image and change the shape of the image. You know, a lot of kids think that when you change the shape of an image, you just click on it and go up here to shapes. That's not true. If you do that, let me show you what happens. When you do that, you click on it, you go and you change the shape. Well, it's just going to make you draw a shape. You're not going to be able to change the shape of the image. To change the shape of an image to, say, a circle, what you could really do is if you go up here, there's this symbol called crop. Kind of looks like two triangles without the bottoms touching, but right next to it is a down arrow and it says mask image. When you do that, you'll be able to actually change it to a different shape. For this one, I'm going to choose a circle. Now, once I've done that, then I can get really creative. Let's say I want to make it blend in with this background. Well, I could do that by going to my format options, just like I did with my text box, and I can give it a drop shadow. Now I could give it some distance here. I could say, okay, I don't want it there. I want it to move over to the side where the black area is. So I'm going to move my shadow. You could kind of see it moving over there. And then I'm going to do the blur radius. And now it's got kind of a blur to it. You know, I can add a little bit more there, but you can see a little bit more of a blur there. You can really take it further if you want to. You can make it a little bit less transparent and you can see the blur coming in more. You can move your picture down a little bit and it helps it blend in a little bit further. You can make your distance of your blur further away to kind of give it that. You can change the angle of it. Whatever works to really make it blend in. The point of using a blur and a shape is it allows you to change the shape of your pictures to pretty much anything you want, but also fit the background well. And so that is another thing I want to show you. Now, the last thing I want to show you when it comes to design and really making things pop off the page is how to change your words into images. Right now, when I've got words up here, there's only so much I could do with it. I mean, I could take the words up here and I could change their color, I could change the font. But what if I told you there's a way you can add shadows to your words? What if I told you there's a way that you could just not just add shadows to your words, but you could even go further and give your words two colors? Let me show you how. First thing you do is you go to Insert, Word Art. And then you're going to type in what you want to type in. So for example, for this one, I want to type in Neptune. Now, when I first get it, it's going to be an ugly brown, but that's okay. What I want to do is I want to change the color by going to the fill icon, the bucket. And I could change the color of it to something that might show up well in my background. So my background is blue. I chose a black Neptune. But you said, Mr. Gilliam, wait a minute. You said we could do two colors. Well, yes, you can. On the color next, on the next thing next to the actual bucket is called the border color. You could change that to white, but then you can also make it thicker by clicking on these three lines, and then you can see that we have multiple colors. Now that is one thing you could do. If you wanted to add shadows, you can go to Format Options, just like you did earlier, and give it a drop shadow. You could give it a drop shadow and really make it pop off the page. Give it kind of that fuzzy phase behind it. If you really want, you can make it darker. If you really want, you could even make the shadow yellow if you really wanted. Kind of gives it a glow. You see, there's lots of things you could do. The last thing I can show you could do with this, and that's actually really cool, is if I change the color to on the border to black, you know, it makes it really dark. Let's say I wanted to make this 3D to make it look like it really pops off the page. If I copy and I paste the same exact thing and change the color of this to white, watch what happens. Now, I can really make a difference. If I just move it over the top, it really makes it pop off the page. And for all of these, I could still change the font if I wanted. I could still play with the formatting. The point of this design example is to really show you guys how to take your designs and just play with them. That's the biggest thing I can give you, the biggest piece of advice is just to play with it. What I've done is I've given you ways and where you need to look, but now it's up to you to adjust the levels to really make it your own and really make your poster Pop off the page, make it look appealing. When something's appealing, it's attractive. It's something that people want to look at. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing some really awesome posters.